what I'm going to do is show you how to convert this rainbow material, which we made in another tutorial, into a glowing star effect. So what we're going to do then, I'm going to start by changing this into a 2D disc. So I'll just convert that into a 2D disc now, so you can see it's just a flat plane, and that the spherical mapping is giving this radial pattern, which we're going to take advantage of. So in the material lab, we've got transformation tools which we can use. If I use actual selection, you can see the disc here, to increase the frequency of the pattern. So if I'm going to take the frequency up to 160, which is a multiple of 20, so it'll repeat nicely, but the pattern's a bit too uniform. So if I go into the deep texture editor, and in each of these I'm going to modify the noise and increase the octaves by 2. Every time you increase an octave, it introduces the same function again at half the frequency that it was before. So the result of this is that it'll cause the pattern to become less dense, a low frequency pattern. The high frequency pattern will still be in there somewhere, so that you get a range of frequencies across the entire circumference of the disc. I'm also going to turn the alpha channel on, because we can use that to control some of the effect. So I'll modify this one, give it 2 octaves, and turn the alpha channel on, and this one, give it 2 octaves and turn the alpha channel on. I'll do that after I've checked out the lab. So each of these, the octave's been increased to 2 and the alpha channel's been turned on. So now we'll get an alpha output from this, and you can see the pattern now. We'll go to the main render. So we've got this strong horizontal vertical cross shape, an area there where there's not much happening, and then these narrower bands that are brightly coloured, which is kind of what I was aiming for. Now I need to modify it. So if you imagine this is going to be the star effect, we need it to fade out towards the edges, and to achieve that I'm going to use this other channel here and control the specular effect. But because it'll be difficult to see what's happening in this channel if I set it up now using this, what I can do is set it up in the diffuse channel and then switch it over. So if I just need to store this first channel for use in a bit, I'll pop it into bump and then put that one into the diffuse channel there, and not worry about the specularity at the moment, though we're going to use that in a bit. So I'm just using this to make sure when I drop out of the material lab here, the texture component doesn't vanish altogether. So if I hold shift key down, click on that, and then go to basic, and we'll just pick something fairly straightforward. That's handy, that's what I'm thinking in terms of. So we've got distant origin, and we'll do it object space. Sounds good. So you can see the effect of that pattern there is not like this preview. So let's look in here and see what we've got. Okay, 2 components. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this first component here and set the filter to sine and make it fully white, so I've got a full white alpha. I don't need colour because I'm going to be using the alpha channel, but I'm just previewing it using the colours. So I'll just set these colours here to something so I can judge the effect, and use subtraction here because I'm going to subtract the alpha so that it leaves a white area in the middle. For this component here, I'm just using alpha output, so I don't need any noise function. For this component, I'm going to use a noise function. I'm going to set the frequency down to about 5 or 4, whichever seems appropriate. There we go, and set it to 3D. That'll mean that it's focused on the center of the object if it's object mapped. And what I'm going to do is use this to fade out the specularity effect. So if we can get white in the middle and black on the outside, and we can scale this effect, I'll use the colours through the diffuse to judge where this ends up, so I can tell where the transitions are. I'll modify this clip to none, so that gives it a gentle transition. Might be too gentle, that. We'll try smooth clip and I'll reset it, and then it's got this pattern here, try and get that onto the centre of this disc. Well, it looks like it's offset, so that probably means we've got some offsets here. So I'll just get rid of those offsets on the XYZ, so it's now centralised, and then I can use the scaling factor to make sure that the blue, which is where the transparent area is is around the edge, so that the pattern doesn't spill over and show where the edge of the circle is. So 34 seems to be about right for that. So at the moment that's the colour there, but you can see the alpha channel here. So if I put this controlling the specularity, make sure we've got alpha scaling set, so now this channel is controlling the level of specularity. Its max level is 100, though we can turn that down if we need to with alpha scaling. And we want the specular colours to be now the rainbow colours from this first component here. And if we use anisotropic effect and control that with the rainbows as well, that'll mean the display. Now you can start to see some of the effect coming in here now. We don't need the diffuse colour, and if we make it transparent and set the diffusion down to 0, you can see now that we've just got a little bit of an effect occurring, and depending where the angle of the light's arriving at it, you can see that it's the pattern splaying out. So that's provisionally set up the effect. Now we need to set up the sky so it's appropriate for our effect. So give it a quick render here. Not much is happening at the moment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tilt the camera back, and I take this circle and try and fit it so that it's facing the camera directly. And I can do that through its attributes or linking. We can do it here through linking, and I think we can do it through track and link here. So if we track and put it onto track the camera, you can see now that the view of the circle is exactly edge on, which is a little bit inconvenient. So if we go into the attributes and look at the tracking and try and modify it so that it's flipped round, so I'll try +Y. Okay, that's worked. So first guess was right. We're now in a position to move it around. Again, the effect doesn't look very dramatic yet, but we're going to provide a light source that just stimulates that effect. Also, you'll notice you can see the sky through the circle, which is some odd interaction with these clouds that doesn't occur otherwise. So what I'm going to do is set the sky up so that it's going to look like a starry sky, and to do that we'll just go into the sky and fog and select custom sky. Right, I don't need clouds, so that should still a little bit of light glow there. That's probably coming from the haze. Let's click the haze off and you can't see it now. So it's got to be aware of what this effect's going to interact with. I'm going to set the sky to a dark blue colour, so pick something out here that's sort of dark purpley blue. Don't want it too purple. Right, and at this point go into the Skylab, turn the sun and moon off as a visible object, image based lighting, use HDRI, we can do sky dome only, it doesn't matter, and use sky and just check from the default level, and that'll just give us a backdrop. Then if we use sky as backdrop and add to sky and then turn off the specularity and HDR effect, notice the sun's been disabled at this point, then we can use this to add to the stars that we're going to put in and make the stars really look like they're glowing. So in atmosphere, let's see, well, we'll try the haze again and see what effect it has. Might choose a darker colour for the haze. Cloud colour, we're not having clouds. We want the sun and moon visible now. I'm going to bring halo rings in, and we'll just see how that looks. I'm just trying to think. Oh yeah, stars. Custom star field, random star field looks a bit too uniform. Star intensity and amount maximum. Let's have as many as possible, and then all being well, we'll get some stars in the sky, and you'll notice our effects disappeared. But don't worry about that, we'll come back to that. Right, I think that's just down to the haze. So if we set the haze colour to the same colour as the sky, that's it, it's vanished now, and we've still got the control over the haze. If we wanted to fade some terrain out, or as you can see the ground's faded out here with the haze control, and the other advantage is with the more haze you can sometimes, if you get the settings right, get the stars to glow, and that will add into the effect with the sky. But that requires the right settings with, let me try and find it in the Skylab, colour perspective can be useful for setting that up. So if you set this colour perspective up quite strong, so we've switched it on now and it's for a blue tint, which would seem to be appropriate, and then get either the density very low and the thickness very high. I can never remember which order, just keep trying things. You can get the stars to really glow. Let's see if the density is too high. Oh, looks quite promising. There you go. The very extreme glow there, I would say. So, but we're heading in the right direction. So the density wants to be high and the thickness low. So I'll just turn that down. Combining effects. See, that probably indicates that the colour perspective is a bit too strong. So I'll turn those down a little bit. Still keep it on the blue side. Right, you can see now that the stars have a slight blue halo. Okay, right, the sun, we're going to use, here's our effect, remember, I know we're sort of drifting off topic slightly. The sun we're going to use behind this effect to brighten the middle, and as you can see in the preview here, the sun's got quite a wide glow area, so we set the sun glow to fully black. It'll bring the sun down to a point, and you can see these halo rings now that are turned on. So that's the sun to a blob, and if we need the sun to be smaller, in the sun and moon tab here, the rendering scene will have a clue. We can set the disk size and the horizon illusion down, and if we turn the glow intensity down, we can reduce the size of it a little bit, but we still want it to remain quite bright. And these radius of these rings, you can just vaguely see on that preview there what effect they're having. So those are the rings around the effect we're looking at now. To get the star effect in here, I'm going to create a light source that's going to just be for the effect. So I'll lift it up here, and you can perhaps just sort of hint of it in that preview. There you go. So this light source, because it's got a specular output, we can do rendering scene here. Then we can control, we don't need to worry about diffuse. In fact, if we don't want this light source to influence anything else in the scene, we can just include only the 2D disk, and then we can provide other lights for other things in the scene, such as on the ground. So it allows us, the influence control allows us a lot of control over what gets lit by this, and we're only providing a specular output because the effect's only in the specular channel. So that's made our effect rather dramatic. I'll make the disk larger, scale it up like so. Now, because this effect is object space mapped, we can rotate, if I can find the right control, object space. It should be possible to, oh hang on a minute, I know it can't rotate it because it's linked to the camera, so now it's in position. If I turn the linking off, there we go, and then I should be in a position to rotate it, not that way, I want it around its y-axis, so I can straighten the star up essentially. So whichever way, I'm just looking at the preview now to see where to set the star around. Either that, or I could rotate it in the material channel, but that would be a bit more fiddly. So I'll just manually turn it around like that. So you can see now I've got quite a bright effect. And then if I go to the sky and fog tab here and hold down Control Alt and double click on the sun control, and then I can hold Control Alt and click anywhere I want, I can bring the sun in. So with the sun behind the effect there, that just fills in the center. As you can see, it's probably a little bit overly dramatic, that. So you've got control over the distance at which the stars are going to spread out from this light source, and the center's filled in with the sun. So if you want the effect to be less dramatic, turn down the specular output, because all these things are getting added together along with the sky, and then it'll bring in the outside of the effect. Or likewise, if the sun's a bit too bright, if it's dominating it too much, you can always reduce the sun intensity a bit, and once again that'll reduce the size of the effect in the middle there. Though I quite liked it when it was fully white. So there you go. That's how you can create a star effect in Bryce 7.1 Pro using the anisotropic specular channels.